one. Good morning. Hi, my name is Sagar, and welcome to Casadega Adult Lyceum, or Sunday School. Thank you for those that are physically present here, and we welcome our virtual online community here as well. I am a certified medium teacher healer from Casadega Spiritualist Camp, and my other background is too long to go through, but that's okay. So in Lyceum, we get opportunity to discuss topics of spiritualism, spirituality, healing, mediumship, etc. So today's broad topic is on healing. And what I'm learning, I'm sure like many of us here, the more we read, the more we strive, the more versions of the same thing we find. So we have to, at some point, narrow it down to what works for us. So it becomes an individualized, unique process to you, not what I'm speaking or somebody else is speaking about. It becomes a personalized journey, and our journeys are personal to begin with. So that being said, I stumbled upon this book, and it was Clean a Heart. And I discovered this book called The Healing Secret of the Ages by Calendar. So if you would like later a picture or a good read, it's written in a very different manner, you'll find out. So in this book, our energy systems from the center all the way up to the crown center correspond to aspects of our healing, our autonomous parasympathetic responses, and everything tied into our energy centers. And in this, I was reading through it, she talks about different wording, and that's what I wanted to share, just to see somebody else's perspective and then tie in what we have learned so far in our own unique manner. So there's a beautiful diagram here. I will show those that are present, and those that are online can at least get an idea. So the root center is noted as center of life. The different verbiage, different wording, but that's what it's noted as. The sacral energy center is identified as the center of elimination. Then we go up in the solar plexus region. There are three identifying words: judgment, strength, and order. That through our solar plexus we are trying to strive for judgment, order, and strength. Uniquely, the heart center remains the center of love. And the more I'm studying, I'm finding this one remains unchanged. There are other words, other references to other energy centers, but this one somewhere stays unique to love. And in many different traditions, Eastern, Western, this doesn't change. So I was just like, oh, something doesn't change. Then we go up in the throat center, it's noted as power. And beyond that, from our occipital bone all the way to the crown, there are many different terms that she is referring in there. The base of the skull is zeal. Slightly above it, below the pineal gland where it should be, is imagination, which is once again universal to the pineal gland, is visualizing or imagining things. But we go slightly above the pineal gland, it's the center of faith. Faith. Up in the front center right here and the forehead region is understanding and will. Will is slightly above, between the third eye and the crown center. And the crown center is noted as the I am energy, everything, Christ consciousness, and so forth. So it was just interesting to see, there are different reference points, how this person may have arrived at. So we will go through 12 of these things that we talked about a little bit more in detail. Where and what these powers are. So we've covered where these are, but we'll go over it again. The first one is the mind power of faith, is located in the center brain at the pineal gland. Second one is the mind power of strength, located between the adrenal glands and the loins of the small of the back. Sacral. The third one is mind power of judgment, is located at the pit of the stomach in the solar plexus near the pancreas gland. Now the interesting part is she doesn't have an order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She has an order of her own in writing, so please be kind to her. I'm just a presenter. The mind power of love is located in the heart chest area, back of the heart near the thymus gland. Fifth one is the mind faculty of power is located at the root of the tongue, in the throat, near the thyroid gland. So right in the base of our skull, like I was presenting earlier. The mind power of imagination is located between the eyes, near the pituitary gland. The mind power of understanding is located in the forehead, in the front brain, just above the eyes. And so forth. Now, she has very profoundly used this word mind power, because as I was reading through further in the chapters, she keeps referring that our power to heal ourselves sits in that mind power. What we create the power, what we create the stimuli in the brain chemistry to respond to what we are wanting to produce healing for. So there's a lot of mind power, mind power. That word, that phrase is repeated throughout the book very profusely, is there. So she talks about where dis-ease is located. Dis-ease is located in any of these 12 energy centers, as we have spoken about, where they were. And I skipped the rest because they are practically just saying where they are. They don't have anything more to talk about that. So she talks about everything that we experience on a physical level. Any disharmony, discord, disease goes somewhere, resides between these 12 points of our power of energy. And to be able to cure them or create an improvement, we have to work through the mind power and so forth. So I'm just being conscientious of time. We'll talk about the two important things that were speaking to me, and then we will see how it inspires the rest of the conversation. So in our body, as I profoundly talk, this is almost like a litmus paper. So if you've ever been in a chemistry department in school, there used to be a blotting paper. We use that litmus paper in testing the pool. So if you live in Florida, inevitably at some point you have come across testing the acidity and the pH levels of the water in the swimming pool. And even if you use public pools, they test it very regularly. So this body is like a litmus paper. It tells us what's going on, and then we have to sort of backtrack where it is coming from. The body just at the end point says, you know, your knee is hurting, something is, but also to follow like the freedom and the mind power saying, I don't have freedom to do self, would slow you down. So the mind and the thinking profoundly present in our processes is there. Just this morning, I was browsing through Gram feed, and Amdas showed up. He says, in the good thing or the bad thing, if you stay in one process there. So how to really healing power? When I'm reading written, within the life force, if you're concentrating a thought of any kind in one place, is the reversal of that is the mind is also creating good chemistry place. So they say good old healthy mind, somewhere that little time. Become tension areas, healing mind powers that are obtaining medical, chiropractic, or psychiatric treatment, stretching out their emotional, because the general location of your in the body will use mind powers have been ready for the word over against. So whatever is residing in the physical body, the center of power based on her readings, that we are in, they store things, they release things, but in the consciousness or the superconsciousness, in the I am space or the higher vibrational space, everything is accessible. What need and both need the same thing, there is no shortage. And that's what I believe I'm paraphrasing what she's writing in this. The mind will give you in that moment, whatever absorbs of healing, you will get it immediately. In our up as a healer, there will be things, it is not just a lot of time based on power. Because universal energy or the spirit knows where to move that energy wherever is needed. So we are focused on the knee or the lower back, but the healing is needed up in the thoracic area. It'll navigate and find its way to where it belongs. And I believe this is also valuing to her writing is she saying is you don't have to hold energy in one space for too long. So you do. Some of the teachers here in this organization have said you're basically giving a blessing or open the energy center to be receptive for whatever time it needs to absorb or take that energy to where it needs to go. So a part of the healer, as we do our healing in the morning, is basically opening that flow of energy and letting that pass through you. And it'll stay with you till you are absorbing it in a healthier manner, so to speak. So this is another interesting diagram in her book, and I think you would understand. She's breaking up neck to the root center in one section, neck and the crown into the secondary section. And neck and below she refers to as seed of subconscious mind activity. And she further breaks it down too as the affectional human lives in the heart, the sensual human expresses through the lower abdomen area, sacral and below. So people that are, more profoundly discerned as enjoying the pleasures of life, regardless of what they are using more focused energy through the lower centers of the energy. It's just lower because they reside in the lower part of the body. I don't think there are any negative terminology of saying they're lower energy centers. We can just call them root, sacral, and parts of solar plexus because they are so close to each other. The intellectual man, so the neck and above is the seed of conscious mind activity. Another way of explaining this is the intellectual human centers in the head. So people that are more driven through knowledge, wisdom, and power, they spend a lot of time in their mind space or in that higher space, seeking what the next refined step is or the next refined information is there for you. So in this section of her writing, she says sometimes we have to deliberately push the mind power in one space to create a balance. And that for me, in my own journey, in my own language of healing and creating healing, if I know there's a part of my life is, not in the best place there is, because I'm inevitably just as human as anybody out there, I have become somewhere in tune with myself not to stay there for too long. Sometimes a moment is too long, sometimes 4 months is too long. It depends on how you discern that. But my immediate desire is to step away from it, go out, do something else. Maybe sometimes do something that is against my basic nature. For example, is go look for snakes. And it's just that deliberate act of looking for something that is outside of my element creates that shift in the mind, is not to keep the focus where it's counterproductive at this time period. So snake was the quickest example that jumped in front of my brain, but it could be rocks, it could be small plants or anything of that nature, even, sitting outside in a chair, watching the clouds. Yesterday I had a wonderful opportunity to see a rainbow and a little time lapse of clouds moving through the spirit pond. Just doing something different, shift your mind and the power that it holds to something else where things are better or they are enjoyable or pleasurable. So instead of dwelling on something day after day, moment after moment, is not the best place to stay there. It does come in handy. Sometimes I don't remember to do that, and then it's like, oh, what am I doing here? Let's do something else. Now, the two things that I wanted to talk about is very excitably is going to come later on, but I wanted to see where I am in the first part. So in her writings, her big part has to do with abdomen. And if you listen to the modern day medical doctors, so the spirit and the medical somewhere connects with each other. If you listen to eliminating or our gastrointestinal area is where a lot of absorptions has to be cleansed, has to be kept moving. Energy there and is nothing to have. In her book, she writes about that very profoundly, that in our stomach and abdomen, most of the work needs done. Now, in my recent 5-6 years of studies of energy and healing and etc., and even mediumship, there's a big emphasis in the solar plexus. Some define that this is the seat of the soul, some say the seat of the soul is up here. You give one, take one. But what I'm understanding is just assimilating all this information is our solar plexus is the most highest active space in our physical and spiritual body. It's taking everything in, it's processing, it's distributing nutrition where it needs to go. It's also absorption, it's also dispersion, it's also elimination in that part. So the intestinal area holds a lot of things. So that's why you hear some people really advocating for, making sure you have enough fiber in your diet and you are eliminating whatever is going through your body. So there is a part of that compass. But on the spiritual level, on a metaphysical level, solar plexus is where we feel a lot of things. And all the feeling places go through our body, through our solar plexus. It's the first brain. It feels everything, and then everything gets processed in the human chemistry brain. But everything goes there. So if you're taking in emotions that are not so kind, not so great, you have to process them out because you've already put them in there. But at the same time, the good feeling emotions, good feeling experiences are also going through here. So when there is an accumulation of one set of energy, the other one sort of gets bounced off. So if you're collecting good energy, good feeling place, and you're staying there day after day, moment after moment, so when the not so good things come into your experience, they come in easy, they go out easy. And as the reverse of that is if you are so prone and in tune with holding the energy or the trauma or the word that she uses for the stomach energy center is the place of judgment is there. So if you're holding judgment towards yourself or towards somebody else, it just stays there. So in the reverse order is if we are holding any negative energy, when the good things come into our life, they don't stay there for too long. They come in and they go out because we are so used to holding that energy in one place. We haven't processed it out. So part of that is once you go into the good feeling place, keep it, hold on to it, become extremely self-preserving when you know you've figured it out. And you know how to bounce off that not so good energy. Because if you let that other energy, guess what? It takes a cycle to let something out and let something in. It's a cyclic, phasic process. So you'll have to spend some time figuring things out. But if you know like some of the law of attraction teachings, if you're on the high flying disc of a high flying vibration, you hang on to it with your dear life and just enjoy it. So when the not so good things come, they stay there momentarily, but they also pass through very quickly. And in this chapter is where that solar plexus and her verbiage and this description is we accumulate judgment because we are in that human trained process as we grow up as a kid, right or wrong, yes, no, good, bad, hot, cold, the polarities, the extremes are always there. And they are just subtle judgments that we are creating on a moment-to-moment basis. We like this or we don't like this. What Joy is speaking, we take it or we don't take it. He doesn't know anything about it. At the same time, they stick together. They add over a period of time. And her writing is we have to work through those problems. We see that's coming from. We do in this book for her is place of your third eye, any place of imaging. That's what she calls it, imaging. And we call it visualizing or imagination, using our sense of imagination. If we are wanting to create some good that are going to outplay in the near future. So we project what the outcome vibration, it will inevitably push us into that part of creating that same ability. Just like in the earlier, the mind we attract in our experience at the same places. If we are wanting, and we make a projection, but the projection is heavily layered with fear or uncertainty, or I'm not sure how, we're still wanting that outcome. Through those little tight spots, we get to the good feeling, the experience, because it's at a vibrational place. So she is heavily talking about that mind power, which in my language is a vibrational continuum, what vibration we're putting with each experience that we're gaining in that part. What the body is responding, you still need to create that fine nature, high quality, high outcome. And then just leave it, because that's another emphasis in that chapter. Imaging is how an image, leave it, because experience. Sometimes on the distraction of an image, we're trying to do all the end details, and then go time. We get to a place where we are to have that good feeling. So my Reiki teacher back home in India would say, don't be and be just enough. Sometimes the accomplishment is not so easy. You will attain it, but it might take you an extra X amount of time before you get to that place. So he said, be enough generic and enough detail so you get to that place and then you build on to that part of that experience is there. The further and the last thing that she emphasizes is that center of elimination, which is the sacral energy center. And I will just leave it that because she has chosen some peculiar words to go along, which are not familiar territory in the energetic language. But if you think in just that terms of their aspects of our existence, that we hold on to things for too long sometimes. I'm sure nobody has done that here. But we are all just naturally responding to that. My mother used to have a big complaint. She would tell me, slow down when you eat fruits. I cannot keep buying you fruits. That was something I couldn't hold on. That was a good feeling place for me. More fruits, more energy, more time to go outside and play. Plus the correlation was if I eat fast, do my work fast, then I can be out there playing more for a longer period of time. So there was an incentive, and I think that's what I'm bringing is when we think of an elimination or eliminating things out of our experiences, think the room it's going to create in your life to bring in more things that match you in today's time and space. So that, house cleaning or spring cleaning is not just for the physical things, it's also a thing to do in this space, physical space of ours, because it has to be kept up with time and stay along with time as well. So, there's a question online. It says, what is the title and author of the book you are referencing? The title is The Healing Secret of the Ages by Kendra. I think I like her name because it's quite pondering. So that is there. Any questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Was that not something they really talked about in her time?
I have not seen that word in my readings through this book, but she's definitely extended her judgment areas. The logic says this is the sensitivity for the body, in addition to solar plexus, taking in emotions and feelings, also being the seed of the digestive part of the process. Because poor absorption is usually the resultant into other physical situations. Anybody else? Yes, Marie? Yeah, thank you. Good question. So a brief moment, just close ours, keep them open. We'll go into this little pop.